You wake up, check your phone. XRP moved 2% overnight. You feel something. Not quite excitement, not quite anxiety, just something. You scroll through crypto Twitter, read about ETF inflows, institutional adoption, payment corridors. You feel connected to something bigger than yourself. For a moment, the emptiness fades. Then you close the app and the void returns, heavier than before. Here's what's actually happening. You're not investing. You're not building wealth. You're filling an emotional emptiness with numbers on a screen, and you're not alone. Millions of people in 2026 are experiencing a profound loss of meaning, and they're trying to fill it with speculative assets that promise purpose, community, and control. Today we're going to explore something uncomfortable: how emotional emptiness, loss of meaning, and dopamine addiction make things like XRP feel more important than they really are. This isn't about telling you what to do with your money. This is about understanding why you're doing it in the first place. If you're ready for 22 minutes of uncomfortable self-reflection, hit subscribe, because this might change how you see everything. Let's begin. Let me start with something you've probably felt but haven't named. There's a growing phenomenon in 2026 where people are experiencing a profound retreat from life itself. Not depression exactly, something different. A loss of interest in things that used to bring joy. Social gatherings feel forced, hobbies feel pointless, conversations feel empty. Even holidays, celebrations, and achievements feel hollow. You go through the motions, but the spirit is gone. Research from behavioral psychology shows this isn't just personal experience, it's widespread. Surveys indicate that rates of self-reported life satisfaction in developed nations have declined steadily since 2020, with younger generations reporting the steepest drops despite having more material wealth and opportunities than any generation in history. People have everything and feel nothing. This creates a vacuum, an emotional void that demands to be filled. And into that void flows whatever is most available, most stimulating, most promising of meaning. For millions of people, that thing is speculation, crypto, stocks, trading, watching charts, following news, feeling like they're part of something, building towards something, understanding something others don't. It's not about money. If it were about money, they'd use proven wealth-building strategies that actually work. This is about filling the void. This is about feeling something, anything. And XRP, with its institutional narrative, its community, its constant news cycle, provides that feeling perfectly. You're not checking prices because you're worried about your investment. You're checking prices because for 15 seconds you feel connected to something, and then the void returns, and you check again. Now let me explain what's actually dying and what that means. The part of you that craves validation from social media, that needs instant gratification, that compares yourself to others constantly, that part is withering. Not by choice, but because the world has become so overwhelmingly chaotic, so saturated with manipulation, so exhausting in its demands for attention, that something inside you is shutting down as a survival mechanism. Research on digital burnout shows that prolonged exposure to high-stimulus environments, constant notifications, and comparison-based social platforms leads to what psychologists call emotional flatlining, where the brain's reward system becomes desensitized and requires increasingly intense stimulation to produce the same emotional response. You're not becoming numb because something is wrong with you. You're becoming numb because your brain is protecting you from overstimulation. And in that numbness, in that emotional flatness, speculation becomes one of the few things that still produces a response. XRP moves 5%, you feel something. Bitcoin crashes, you feel something. Your index fund slowly compounds, you feel nothing. This is why people who know better still trade. It's not stupidity, it's emptiness seeking stimulation. The loss of meaning in life makes numbers on a screen feel meaningful by comparison, because at least when you're watching XRP, something is happening. You're engaged, you're participating. The rest of life feels like going through motions. But this feels real. And that's the trap. You're mistaking stimulation for purpose. You're mistaking activity for meaning, and every time you check the price, you're reinforcing the pattern. The void isn't being filled, it's getting deeper, because you're training your brain that meaning comes from external validation, from numbers, from speculation. And that's a hole that can never be filled. Let me tell you about someone I'll call Michael, because his story illustrates this perfectly. Michael is 32, software engineer, makes $90,000 a year, lives alone in a decent apartment, has everything he's supposed to want, but he feels nothing. Work is meaningless. Meetings about meetings. code that gets replaced next quarter, projects that don't matter. Social life is hollow. Friends talk about the same things. Dates feel transactional. Everyone's performing. Nobody's real. So Michael started trading crypto in 2024, started with Bitcoin, then found XRP, read about payment corridors, institutional adoption, the Internet of Value. Finally, something that made sense. A story, a vision, a community. He joined Discord groups, followed analysts on Twitter, spent hours reading about regulatory clarity and banking partnerships. For the first time in years, he felt part of something meaningful. He wasn't alone anymore. He was an investor, a visionary, someone who understood what others didn't. 2 years later, Michael has $12,000 in XRP. He started with $20,000. He's down 40%. But that's not what bothers him. What bothers him is that even when XRP goes up, even when the community celebrates, even when news comes out, the feeling fades faster now. The dopamine hit used to last hours. Now it lasts minutes. He needs more. Bigger moves, more validation, more community engagement. He's on his phone constantly, checking prices, reading news, arguing with skeptics, defending his decision, not because of the money, because without this, there's nothing. Work is still meaningless, social life is still hollow, but at least with XRP, he has something to care about, something to hope for, something to belong to. Michael isn't building wealth, he's medicating emptiness, and he knows it, but he doesn't know what else to do. Let me explain the neurological mechanism that makes this so powerful. When you speculate on something like XRP, you're not just hoping for financial gain, you're triggering multiple psychological systems simultaneously. First, the dopamine reward system. Every price check is a variable reward, sometimes good news, sometimes bad, sometimes neutral. This unpredictability creates the exact pattern that casinos use to create addiction. Research shows that cryptocurrency traders check their portfolios an average of 11 times per day, with 18% reporting checking more than 20 times daily, demonstrating compulsive behavior patterns that mirror gambling addiction. Second, the illusion of control. You're making decisions, buying, selling, analyzing. Your brain interprets this activity as agency, as power. In a world where you control almost nothing, where jobs are unstable, relationships are fragile, and the future is uncertain, controlling your XRP position feels like controlling your destiny, even though you're not. You have zero control over XRP's price, but the illusion is powerful enough. Third, tribal belonging. The XRP community, like all crypto communities, provides identity. You're part of something. You understand something. You're not just a cog in a meaningless system anymore. You're a visionary, an early adopter, someone who sees what the masses don't. This tribalism fills the social void that modern life creates. Fourth, narrative and meaning. XRP isn't just a speculative asset. It has a story, banking disruption, cross-border payments, financial inclusion. This narrative provides purpose. You're not just trying to make money. You're part of a revolution, a movement, something bigger than yourself. These four systems, dopamine, control, belonging, narrative, create a psychological cocktail that's more powerful than any single addiction. And in 2026, when life feels emptier than ever, this cocktail becomes irresistible. Now let me show you what's actually happening beneath the surface. The emotional emptiness you're feeling, the loss of meaning, the retreat from life. This isn't permanent. It's transitional. The part of you that craved external validation, that needed constant stimulation, that measured worth by comparison, that part is dying. And it needs to die. Because that part was never you. It was programming, societal conditioning, media manipulation, the illusion that meaning comes from achievement, status, possessions, and portfolios. As that part dies, you experience a period of flatness. Everything feels boring. Nothing excites you. This is your baseline. Your real emotional state without artificial stimulation, and it feels empty because you've been running on dopamine and adrenaline for years. But underneath that flatness, something real is emerging, your authentic self, the part of you that knows what actually matters, not what society says matters, what you know matters. For most people, this emergence is terrifying because they don't know who they are without the programming, so they fill the void with whatever is available, speculation, social media, endless content consumption, anything to avoid sitting with themselves. But here's the truth. That flatness, that emptiness, that boredom, it's not the problem. It's the solution. It's your brain forcing you to slow down, to disengage from manipulation, to stop seeking meaning in external things, to turn inward. Animals do this. When an iguana is under extreme stress, it enters a freeze state, completely still, unresponsive. This isn't death, it's survival. The iguana's system is resetting. Humans do the same. Your emotional flatness is a freeze response, your brain protecting you from overstimulation. And if you fight it, if you try to fill it with speculation and dopamine hits, you delay the healing. But if you embrace it, if you sit with the boredom, if you accept the silence, something shifts. You start hearing yourself again. Your intuition, your values, your actual desires, not what you've been told to desire, but what you genuinely want, and this is where real meaning begins. Let me contrast two paths forward, because you're at a choice point right now. Path 1 is continuing to fill the void with speculation. Keep checking XRP prices, keep reading news, keep engaging with communities, keep feeling those small dopamine hits that last shorter and shorter each time. Research shows that 75% of retail traders lose money over any 12-month period, with the median account losing all capital within 300 days, yet many continue trading not for profit, but for emotional regulation. This path doesn't lead to wealth, it doesn't lead to meaning, it leads to deeper emptiness, because you're training your brain that purpose comes from external things, and external things always disappoint. Eventually the narrative collapses, the community fragments, the price moves against you, and you're left with nothing but the void, now deeper than before. Path 2 is accepting the emptiness, not fighting it, not filling it, just sitting with it. Let the flatness be flat. Let the boredom be boring. Let the silence be silent. This feels like death at first, like you're wasting time, like you're missing out. But you're not. You're healing. You're resetting. You're allowing the superficial parts of yourself to die so the real parts can emerge. And in that silence, gradually, you'll start to notice things, small things, a conversation that actually matters, a project that genuinely interests you, a moment of peace that doesn't need to be photographed or validated. These moments don't produce dopamine spikes. They produce something better, contentment. Meaning doesn't announce itself with fireworks. It whispers in quiet moments. But you can only hear it if you stop filling every silence with stimulation. This is the path that XRP, and speculation generally, prevents you from walking, not because speculation is evil, but because it's too stimulating, too engaging, too good at filling the void artificially. You'll never find meaning while you're checking prices 11 times a day. You'll never discover your authentic self while you're medicating emptiness with charts and communities. Now let me address the question you're probably asking. If speculation isn't the answer, what is? And the honest answer is, I don't know what your answer is, because meaning is personal. For some people, it's building something, a business, a skill, a craft. For others, it's relationships, deep connections, real intimacy. For others, it's service, helping, contributing, creating value for others. For others still, it's understanding, learning, exploring, growing intellectually. Your answer is different from mine, and nobody can tell you what it is. But I can tell you this, you will not find it while you're speculating. You will not discover it while you're filling every silence with stimulation. You will not hear it while your brain is locked in dopamine cycles. The only way to find meaning is to create space for it. Silence, solitude, boredom, these aren't empty states, they're fertile ground. This is why the wealthiest, most successful people in history, the ones who actually found meaning, all did the same thing. They spent time alone. They thought deeply. They disconnected from noise. They slowed down. Warren Buffett spends most of his day reading and thinking, not trading, not reacting, not consuming content. Bill Gates takes think weeks where he isolates himself completely. Einstein did his best work during long walks where he thought about nothing specific. They understood something most people never learn. Meaning doesn't come from activity. It comes from clarity, and clarity requires silence. You're not going to find meaning in XRP's price movements. You're not going to discover purpose in institutional adoption news. You're not going to feel fulfilled by being right about payment corridors. These things are too small, too transient, too dependent on external factors you can't control. Real meaning is internal, built, earned, discovered through introspection and action. And the first step is accepting that right now you feel empty, and that's okay. That emptiness is not the problem. It's the beginning of the solution. Let me take you deeper into why 2026 specifically feels this way. We're living through a unique moment in human history. More connectivity than ever, yet more isolation. More information than ever, yet more confusion. More opportunity than ever, yet more despair. The systems that gave previous generations meaning, religion, community, stable careers, family structures are collapsing, and nothing has replaced them. So people search, they try different things: self-help, therapy, spirituality, entrepreneurship, travel, relationships. And when none of it fills the void permanently, they turn to speculation. Because speculation promises something unique. It promises that meaning is just one good trade away, one 10x, one bull run, one moment of being proven right. This is a lie, but it's a seductive lie, because unlike other pursuits, speculation provides instant feedback. You don't have to wait years to see if your business succeeds. You don't have to invest decades in relationships to know if they're meaningful. You check your phone and you know immediately. This instant feedback creates the illusion of progress, but it's not progress. It's just noise, and the more you engage with it, the less capable you become of sitting with the uncertainty that real meaning requires. Real meaning doesn't give you instant feedback. Building a business takes years before you know if it matters. Developing mastery takes decades. Creating deep relationships takes constant work with no guarantee. These paths are uncertain, uncomfortable, slow, but they're the only paths that lead to actual fulfillment. Speculation is the opposite: fast, certain, stimulating, and empty. This is why Michael and millions like him are trapped. They know speculation isn't the answer, but they don't know what is, and they're not willing to sit with the uncertainty long enough to find out. So they keep checking, keep trading, keep hoping that the next move will fill the void. It won't. It never does. But the alternative, silence and self-examination, feels like death. So they choose the illusion of life, even though it's killing them slowly. Here's what I want you to understand about this moment you're in: the flatness you feel, the emptiness, the lack of meaning. This isn't failure. This isn't depression. This isn't something wrong with you. This is clarity. For the first time, maybe in your entire adult life, you're seeing reality without filters, without dopamine, without distraction, without the stories you've been telling yourself about who you are and what matters. And reality, unfiltered, is flat, boring, neutral. But that flatness is honest. It's real. And from that real place, you can actually build something meaningful. You can't build meaning on top of illusions. You can't create purpose while you're high on dopamine. You can't discover who you really are while you're performing for others. The emptiness is stripping away the false self, the programmed self, the self that thought XRP price movements mattered, the self that needed external validation, the self that measured worth by portfolio size. That self is dying. Good. Let it die. And in its place, something real can grow. But only if you stop fighting the process. Only if you stop trying to fill the void artificially. Only if you embrace the silence and sit with yourself until you remember who you actually are. This is not a comfortable process. It's not supposed to be. You're shedding an entire identity, an entire way of seeing the world, an entire system of values that never served you. Of course it feels like death, but on the other side of this death is something you've never experienced: actual peace. Not the temporary relief that comes from a green candle, not the fleeting satisfaction of being right, but deep, stable, unshakable peace. The peace that comes from knowing yourself, from living aligned with your actual values, from building meaning instead of chasing it. If this video made you feel something, even if it's discomfort, hit subscribe right now, because we're building a community of people who choose meaning over stimulation. Drop a comment and be honest. What are you really seeking when you check prices? What void are you trying to fill? And if this resonated, share it with someone who's trapped in the same cycle, because the difference between a meaningful life and an empty one isn't complicated. It's just the willingness to sit with yourself until you remember who you are. See you in the next one.